To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
G'day guys, Disney Dave coming at you once again from Down Under with another video review for you guys today. We are here in my brand new library room. I say brand new, but it's I've had it for a few months now. I haven't done a whole lot of filming out of here yet because it hasn't been at a point where I've been really happy with it, but I've spent quite a bit of time over the last few weekends getting this up to scratch and getting it how I really like it, and I can start doing videos from in here as well as in the theatre going forward in the future. Now it's very fitting to do a book review as the first review from here in the library room, library/study room. And we are taking a look at the brand new book from DK, Star Wars, Year by Year, A Visual History, updated and expanded edition. Now this is pretty much the third edition of the book. There have been two prior printings, one in 2010 which was the first book, a second printing in 2012 which was expanded by it's like 12 pages or something like that. And now here we are again, we've got the third edition which is updated and expanded to include between 2012 and 2016, of course. So this is the very first edition of the book being published under the Disney banner. So the previous editions were published prior to the Disney administration taking over Lucasfilm. So there's quite a wealth of new knowledge in this edition. Now I'm calling it an edition, but technically it's a new version of the book. The original one was called A Visual Chronicle, this one's called A Visual History. Now basically I say it's a different version because the previous two had the same cover. This one has a completely different cover, and of course we've got the sleeve here, the cardboard sleeve. This cover's different from the previous version as well. So really it's a new version of the book, and as I said, it's got the Disney banner on it, so this is really the first to include the I suppose the new era, the new generation of Star Wars in this book. So it's really special. I don't have the first edition because it was quite expensive when it first came out, and by the time it got down to a price that I was happy to pay for it, they had stopped bringing it out in the sleeve. And I really wanted the sleeve because the sleeve was beautiful and I really wanted to display the book like that. So I held out in hopes that they would reprint it again with a sleeve, and there we go. Now this has been out in the US for only a couple of days. I think it's out in the UK as well. It's been out in Australia for about 2 weeks. For some reason we put out books very, very early here, and books appear on the shelves a couple of weeks before their release date sometimes. Don't know why, but that's how it happens. I picked this up at a Big W store last weekend. There were heaps of copies of them. I went back yesterday. I was there yesterday afternoon and there were none left. So I'm really happy that I got my hands on this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up. We're going to crack it open over at the desk there, and we're going to just take a very brief look at the book, talk about it a little bit. We're going to take a look at the cover. We're going to take a look at the insides. I won't spend too much time looking at the insides because I do want to leave a little bit of excitement for you if you do buy this book and you crack it open, and I don't want you to see everything before you get to sit down and discover the book for yourself. So this is just a very quick review and preview of the book, but we will take a look. For those who have got the previous version and are wondering, is it worth getting the new edition, we're going to take a look at some of the new content at the back as well, just so you guys can take a look at the new stuff of this book and you can decide whether you do need another version of this book as well. So let's take it over there. We're going to crack it open and do our quick little review and I suppose unboxing of this book. Okay, here we go. We are taking a look again at Star Wars Year by Year, A Visual History. Now, of course, as I said, this is the first edition of this book, the first version of this book to include the post-Disney takeover era, the new generation of Star Wars. So, of course, they've gone with Kylo Ren on the cover of this one. The previous one had images from the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy on the cover, but now they've gone with just completely Force Awakens themed cover here to drag in, as I said, to drag in a newer reader. Drag in, I suppose, the kids who are now growing up with Star Wars, the next generation of Star Wars viewers who are now growing up with the new generation of films. So basically that's probably what this is aimed at. So that's our front cover right there of Star Wars year by year. And spin it over here. This is our back cover. We've got Darth Vader on the back. So there we go. We do have a little bit of original trilogy sitting on there. But of course, if you're looking at this on the bookshelves, Darth Vader's going to be facing the back in colour and going to be facing the front. So there you go, there's a look at that. That's our spine here. The spine's a little bit different than the original spine of the book. If I had it, I'd be able to do a comparison, but sadly I do not, so I can't do a proper comparison of that one for you guys. Now, of course, as I said, this is a slip box, so this slides right out, and there is the book. I will just put the slip cover over here where it's not going to get damaged or anything. So once again, we are taking a look at a cover which is very much representative of the new era of Star Wars, with Rey on the cover here, Force Awakens of course, Ashoka from the Clone Wars series, and we've got Darth Vader in the middle there. So it's a little bit of a representation of the old and the new. If we turn over on the back, we've got prequels, clone troopers, we've got Luke and Yoda, and then we have Luke in his X-Wing there. So really, you know, this cover here has, you know, it shows it all. It shows the old and it shows the new. Now again, that's a very different cover than the previous two editions of the book. Just fix my focus there. Now I open it up right here. Let me get this into a good position there. I still feel like, there we go. Now it comes with these two prints. A lot of these bigger DK books tend to come with these prints for one reason or another. Got a cool Force Awakens one there. Rey fighting Kylo Ren. It says here, Snow Fight, a piece of Star Wars Force Awakens concept art by Eric Tiemens and Ian McCaig. It's an intense moment as Rey and Kylo Ren duel in the otherwise silent forest. It's a print from March 2013. Now, it's a bit of a struggle to get these back in the book, so I'm going to put these carefully over here with the slip case for now. It comes with two, and we have a scene, Falcon Chase, version 1. Pre-production art by lead concept art Doug Chiang sets the scene for what will become an iconic desert chase scene in Star Wars Force Awakens. It's a July 2013 picture here. Doug Chiang's been designing Star Wars for a very, very long time, worked on the prequel trilogy and was one of the head designers of the prequel trilogies, and it's really nice to see him come back for the new films and work on the design and concept art for that. Now this is pretty much exactly the same, so those who have the previous version will recognise these early pages of the book. This is all exactly the same. Now does it make mention in here of the previous editions? It does. Page copy design 2010, 2012, 2016. So yes, this is basically the third edition of the book, but in essence again it's a new version. Updated and expanded edition. Now this is pretty much the same as the contents page on the original book. Now I know I said I don't have the original book, but I've been able to flick through it in the shops, so I've been able to do a little comparison. This was set out just a little bit differently. Of course, this is the new stuff that's included in this book, the stuff between 2012 and 2016. So this is a new section, and everything else has just been rearranged accordingly, just so it can all fit between those 2 pages there. Now, the introduction, these front pages are exactly the same. We've got an introduction here. We have got a author's note here as well. Again, all these pages at the very beginning of the book are exactly the same. Now, the idea of this book basically is it's sort of an encyclopedia, I suppose. So we start from 1914 and it goes all the way up to 2016. Why does it start at 1914? Star Wars wasn't released until 1977, you are probably saying. Well, the interesting thing about this book is that it's not exactly all about Star Wars. I mean, it's a Star Wars book, but the information in this book is presented in a way that it is showing you events in pop culture and in history that sort of relate to Star Wars. That Star Wars has had an impact, or which had an impact on Star Wars. So very early on we get a look at all the films, like the Flash Gordon films, that inspired the Star Wars saga. Then we get a little bit of information on George Lucas growing up, and films and popular literature and historical events throughout the 1960s, and sort of everything that's going on in the world. As described by DK, this book basically couples the information about the Star Wars saga with other key significant events in history and culture for context. So it's basically giving you a context of the films. What inspired them? What has the film inspired? What was the impact on the world? What impact on the world did the Star Wars films have? What impact did the world have on Star Wars? So it's giving you the making of these films in a very, very sort of historical and pop culture context, which I think is really cool because this is the first book that's really done that with the Star Wars films. And with DK, of course, you can expect just a wealth of information. Now, of course, this is the section on the original trilogy, and as I said, these pages are exactly the same as the original printing of the book. I feel like I've gone out of focus a little bit. So, for those who have the original book will recognise all of these pages. They're exactly the same. Really, really nice artwork, really nice information. Gives you a good making of the films in sort of newspaper snippet form. And it's really easy to digest in a sitting or in a couple of sittings, as opposed to sitting and reading a full book on the making of the films, which can be, quite tedious and quite long. So if you just want a brief idea of how these movies were made, this is the book for you. Now, the first one that was published in 2010 had 319 pages. The second edition, the updated edition in 2012, had 327 pages and only covered up to 2012. The end of 2012, of course, was when Disney bought Lucasfilm and took over. So all the new material in this book covers 2012 to 2016. So basically from the takeover right up until the end of this year, where we will see the release of Star Wars, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So basically the new stuff, which we're going to have a look at just in a moment, covers the acquisition onwards. So we're going to very, very quickly flick through these pages here, give you a good idea of what's covered in here. It covers all the Star Wars related films, books, literature, just about everything that Star Wars has come out with, toys, memorabilia, just about everything, it covers. Games, it's a huge compendium of just everything Star Wars in chronological order, which is awesome. So we're going to flick right to the new stuff. Again, I want to leave a little bit for you guys. If you pick up this book, I want you to be able to experience this book just like I have. And really just be amazed at the content that you see when you sit down to have your very first read of it. We're going to shuffle this over this way just a little bit to get it central. Now, this is the new section here. For those who have got the previous version and want to know, that's your new section right there, covering 2013 to 2016. Now, as I said, this version of the book has 368 pages, which is 41 brand new pages to this edition from the previous edition. But if you only have the first edition, you're getting 49 brand new pages out of this book. So basically, let's take a look at what we've got of the new stuff. For those who are interested in grabbing this book, who already have the previously released version. So this is all about the Disney takeover. You've got some info on J.J. Abrams, the announcement of J.J. Abrams as the director for episode 7 on January 24. And then we just got all the stuff that's sort of gone on between 2012 and now, all the books that were released. It shows you the stuff on the later series of the Clone Wars, which was of course cancelled in its youth. There's a little bit of information on the announcement of Daisy Ridley and John Boyega being announced as the leads of the film. Little information on all the books that have been released, little snippets of information on the making of The Force Awakens, of course, the announcement of Star Wars Land at Disneyland. So really we've got just about everything that you'd want from the last handful of years. The new generation of Star Wars is covered in here in depth. Now, what a lot of people are wondering, once Disney came in and they were making their new films, they wiped the previous expanded universe. Everything that had been written previously, all of the expanded universe novels, comic books, absolutely everything had been wiped. They were no longer canon. People were absolutely annoyed by this. People who had devoted up to 40 years on the expanded universe, none of that counts anymore. Now people were wondering about this edition of the book. Does this edition of the book now not include any information on the Legends expanded universe as it's now known? Yes, it does. It's got all the information in here about absolutely everything. There's a little entry somewhere in here about the decanonization of all that stuff, basically saying, Disney, to aid them in making the new films, decanonize the expanded universe. But everything's in here because that's still very important to the lore of Star Wars and to Star Wars history. So that takes you to the end, 2016. The very last snippet here is the release of Rogue One, which leaves many, many more pages in the future for them to make new volumes of this, and I'm sure they will. And that's the only annoying thing about these. Basically, it really is an encyclopedia, and encyclopedias are updated and expanded every single year, as new stuff happens. And this is going to be the case with this Star Wars book. I think I'm guessing they're probably going to reprint this maybe every time a new film comes out, or every second year or something like that. For now, I'm happy this is up to date. This is completely updated and expanded to my liking. Right now, this is completely up to date as of right now, but come a couple of years time, it's going to be outdated, and I'm probably going to have to buy another version just for the extra 10 pages or so, or the extra couple of pages. But there you go anyway. I'm going to slide this back into the slipcover, and I'm going to put my art prints back into the book properly, and I will do a very, very quick wrap up. Okay, so that is of course Star Wars Year by Year, A Visual History, the new publication from DK. Awesome book, I really love it. I really love flicking through it and taking a look at it all. I was flicking through it the other night just to have a very quick look at it. I got stuck into it for a couple of hours, and I've only got probably maybe this far into the book, this little sliver far into the book, and I've got so much more to just explore in this really awesome volume. I've got a wealth of Star Wars stuff, but this is just a really, really cool book, and to see it laid out like that, in a way that it's chronological, year by year, of course, as the title is. It's really cool, and it's just little snippets, and it's enough to sort of absorb in one sitting, instead of I've got these huge making of compendiums of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. It takes a lot of effort to sort of read one of them and kind of get absorbed in the making of warts and all of the films. If you sort of want just a very, very brief look over the making of the films, a look at the pop cultural impact, the impact on history, the impact on the world that these films have, you want it in that context, you know, and you just want to get an idea, a chronological sort of timeline of everything Star Wars, this is an awesome place to start. And I got this from my cousin a couple of years ago for a Christmas present. My younger cousin who's just got into Star Wars, and this is an awesome book to sort of get the younger kids into the universe. I mean, this is something I would have loved to have when I was a kid. I would have absolutely devoured this. It's a really cool look, and it's important to understand as a new viewer, especially for the younger kids, the impact that these movies have had on pop culture and on society. Because these have had a huge impact, these movies, and they are continuing to have a huge impact. So to be able to sit down with your kid and look through this and go, oh, look how important these movies are, and look how, you know, cool these movies are, and just the juxtaposition between the films and history and pop culture and all that kind of stuff, it's really cool, and it's an awesome volume to lay it out in. I picked it up for $45 from Big W, which I thought was a pretty decent price. I'm happy to pay $45 for a really, really nice volume like this, and you know, I didn't want to risk not being able to get it with the slip box again. So I'm very, very happy to add this to my collection. For those you know, who are looking to pick up another volume of it, whether or not you want to pick up a new edition, considering there's only, you know, 60 something pages new in here, I mean, that's up to you. Is it worth the $45 Australian? I'm not sure what it's worth in the US. I haven't really dug that far, but you know, you've had a good look. You get an idea of what's new in here, and I just think it's a really beautiful volume. And look, if I ever come across the first edition in a slip box for a nice price, I'll probably pick it up, because I would actually like to have both of them sitting on the shelves, just because of the difference between the cover and all that kind of stuff. But for now, we're going to pop over here. I tried to make a little bit of room before. Beautiful, there should be just enough room. I like to do this with my book reviews. And we're going to just squeeze that in right there next to Star Wars costumes and Star Wars blueprints. And that is just a really awesome addition to my Star Wars shelf, my Star Wars collection of books right there. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. This concludes another video here at Disney Dave Down Under. Thank you for watching, and do me a big favour, let's keep expanding this channel. My last video got so far over 5,000 views, which is huge for this channel. That is 5 times the amount of the video of mine that previously held the title of most watched video. So let's keep building it. I got about 40 subscribers from the last video as well. So it's growing steadily growing, and I need your help to help me grow it just that little bit extra. So if you like what you've seen, if you're interested to see the rest, to see my future videos, please click subscribe on the YouTube and click like over on the Facebook. Keep in the loop about what's going on this channel and all my postings and all that kind of stuff. So I hope to see you guys in the future, but until then, I hope you have a magical day.